the levy equalization cut,
Yes.
for especially my school, because I'm from a really small school in a small town, so it greatly impacts us to where we lose like 5% of our staff and probably start having to pay for like busing and transportation, which is like out of the question for us because we live on back roads and it'd be really dangerous. Or like people would ride bikes where it'd be more practical in a big town. So, do you think it's necessary to cut half? Couldn't we cut not so much of the levy equalization so the schools wouldn't suffer as much?
Okay.
Because like right now I feel, I can only speak for myself, but I feel when you cut now, you're actually cutting our future. Because we deserve like education as much as you did, and it seems like now we're paying for your mistakes, your generation's mistakes, and we didn't do anything.
Yep. Yep. So, does everybody know what levy equalization is? She does. Do the rest of you know what it is? Okay. So, we have a number of areas in our state where we call them property poor areas. They either don't have the ability to have a property tax, or they simply can't make it happen in their area. So to avoid them being hurt, we put in some supplemental money into those districts. So for example, it's $300 million. $300 million. So I looked at it, and again, basic education's off the table. So there are only really one non-basic education place you can go to cut that has any amount of money in it, and it's levy equalization. There really is nothing else. We could, as I also offered, increase the class size grade 4 to 12 by 2. That would take a statutory change by the legislature because it's considered part of basic education. We could shorten the school year and maintain the seat time, but in order to get to 150, it's over a week. Okay, again, you'd have to amend the definition of what constitutes basic ed, because by law, we have to fund basic ed. So there's no place else to go where there's money. If not that, then what? If not that, then what is the dilemma that we face? We're already cutting health care to kids. We're already cutting food, the entire food program, to people who can't prove that they are here in this country as a citizen. But but be mindful, that doesn't mean they're not a legal immigrant. They're just not a citizen. And we cut all of their food off. So the dilemma that we have now is every time we say, don't cut that, and I can tell it to you, almost everything that I've cut, I have people saying to me, don't cut that, and I agree with them, but the problem is, then what? Because you can't say, we're not going to cut $150 million, and that's what it is. I cut it in half, $150 million, delayed it, so that people, if they can pass a levy, can pass a levy and adjust, and then I tiered it. So the most property poor were cut only 10%. Those who were the most property rich were completely, they lose all their mitigation dollars in levy equalization. So it wasn't a choice that I wanted. I didn't see that there were other viable choices. Now, that doesn't mean that will be the end result. I am now looking to see if there are other alternatives, and I'm getting people to talk to me. But let me be clear, if you sat in my shoes as governor, what you most often get is a stakeholder who will come in and simply say to you, don't cut mine. And then you say to them, then what? And they say, well, I don't know that, but don't cut mine. That doesn't work when you're governor. You've got to do one big thing is, we were late to get into, we didn't play some of the gimmicks that other states did on mortgages, so we weren't hurt as bad initially. Now we are. Do you know, what's the term underwater mean? You know what that means? Many, many people are underwater now with their house mortgages. What does that mean? Yes, but you owe more than what it's worth. You owe more than what it's worth. So some people are putting their keys in the mailbox and walking away. Okay? In this state, the housing industry is critical to our recovery. While construction in the housing industry is really only 4% of the economy of Washington State, It's about 8 to 10% of the state budget. So we need to get out of the mortgage mess, okay, which is why the president has introduced his new ideas to try and help us get out of the mortgage mess. We need to get out of the mortgage mess, and we need to get construction, some of you are in construction in here, back to work. We can make that happen. We will pull that sector of our economy out. That sector is critical. When 8 to 10% of your budget relies on that sector, it will drag us down if it doesn't pull out. So all of the mortgage mess, and by the way, it's going to hit one last time. The attorneys general of the country, along with the federal government, are negotiating with the big banks now to try and resolve the mess. That will result in one last number of defaults, and then we will be pretty well past people having to default on their mortgages. But it doesn't do a bank any good to get a home that's been defaulted, does it? What are they going to do with it, right? So it's in their best interest to keep those people in that house, if at all possible. It's the right thing to do for the people. I think it's the right thing to do for the banks and our economy.